Today we're going to do a lesson from the CPM book, Chapter 9, Trigonometry. We're going to combine a few lessons. We're going to call this lesson 9.1a, Sine and Cosine Graphs. I'm Mrs. Hodge and I teach at Lee High School. We're going to first start with a screamer ride and how to graph the sine function. Then we're going to teach you how to graph the cosine function. And then we're going to be finding the values of sine and cosine given an angle. Lastly, we're going to start the 9.1a homework worksheet. The CPM book starts with the screamer ride. The screamer ride is supposedly the scariest ride on earth. It's basically a Ferris wheel. If we read about Antonio and his friends, they basically enter the ride and half the wheel is also below ground. It's very dark with muddy waters below, so it's pretty scary underneath. The top part is above ground and the bottom is below ground. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the screamer ride and how to graph the sine function. All right, the screamer ride, like the Ferris wheel, starts by entering here. Actually, we're going to go back here at 0. It's going to start at 0 height. As you enter the ride, it goes up and the height starts to climb up and up and up, as you see. Here at 30 degrees being the angle from here, from the origin, here's the angle of 30 degrees. The height is 0.5. Now 0.5 of a unit, 0.5, which is half of 100 feet, that would be about 50 feet high up in the air. For here, we're not going to draw 50 feet, so we're going to call this 0.5. Unit of 1, which would be 100 feet at the top. As it keeps climbing up, it eventually gets to a height of 1, which would be in the ride 100 feet high, because 1 equals 100 feet. Every unit's 100 feet. Then it's going to go back down at 120 degrees. So from here, going all the way around to 120 degrees, the height is about 87 feet, 8.866. So that rounds to about 0.87, which is about 87 feet high up in the air. Then it's going to go back down, eventually get to a height of 0, because at 180 degrees we have a height of 0. And then it's going to start going below ground. Notice the height is negative. We have a negative 100 when it gets down to the bottom, and that is 270 degrees around. And then over here, we have about negative 40 feet, which is negative 0.4, and it's just past the 330 mark here as it gets back. And finally back to 0. Let's show you how to graph that on paper. All right, so right now, I want you to go ahead and get out your notebooks. We're going to title this Chapter 9, so let's go ahead and show you what we're going to title this. Get your IM3 notebooks out and title it IM3 Chapter 9 Lesson 1A, and we're going to call this the sine and cosine graphs. The sine and cosine graphs. All right, that's the heading, that's the big title. Then we're going to erase that, even though you're going to keep it. And the first one we're going to do is called the sine graph. So next you're going to write the sine graph. All right. The way the sine graph works is we're going to go ahead and put sine of 0 in our calculator, and it's going to give us 0. We're going to be making a table, the x and y table. Go ahead and make this table. Draw the x and the y table. X is going to be degrees, y is going to be height. And we're going to go ahead and start filling it out. Notice sine of 0 is 0, so the height is at 0. We're going to keep going. Then we're going to do sine of 15 in the calculator. Notice we're typing it in. We'll make sure you're in degree mode. This is 0.26 about. If you round it, it's 0.26. So this is what we're doing. We're going to go ahead and go on. Sine of 30 degrees. Go ahead and type that in the calculator or just watch how I do it and you get 0.5. So you're going to put 0.5 in for the y-axis and then you're going to plot a point. All right, so what you can do is after you make your table, you can start making an x and y axis. You can make the x-axis have 100 here, or you can go 90 if you wish. You can go up by 15. Desmos went up by 10. It's up to you how you want to do it, but basically you're going to go over 0, up 0, over 15, up 0.26, over 30, up 0.5, and you'll see how it keeps going. And that's how you do the sine graph. You're just going to keep going. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this a little bit. And you can see how we're going to do sine of 60, and that gives you 0.87 or so. And this is how we do the sine graph. We're going to just fast forward this on to here. Now we're doing sine of 90 was 1, which is way at the top. And then it's going to start going back down. You can pause this at any time to be able to slow down and do this. Notice I skipped around a little bit. Sine of 180 is 0, back to 0. And then we're going to start getting into the negatives. Sine 195 degrees gives you a negative 0.26 about. So we're going to start drawing the negatives. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit more. Sine of 210 was negative 0.5. Again, you can pause this at any time to get your graph better. Make sure you do accurate graphs. And then we have sine of 270, and that gives you negative 1. So that's down here. Notice I skipped a few points. And then we're going to do sine of, let's see here, let's do sine of 285. It's going to go back up again a little bit. So you're going to make that in your table and then plot your point. And then, yes, this takes a while, but sine of 330, we skipped a little bit and went up, and we got negative 0.5, which is back up here. Type it into your table, plot your point, and lastly, let's just skip all the way to 360, which is one full rotation around the Ferris wheel. Sine of 360 is 0 degrees. And then let's go ahead and connect everything. So let's go ahead and make the whole graph. And that's it. So let's go back a little bit. Make sure you connected everything. All right, so that's the sine graph. All right, and if you want to see what it looks like, this is what it looks like. You can go ahead and pause my video and get your accurate points and go ahead and get your accurate graph. Make sure you connect it. Here's the critical points: 0, 0, 91, 180, 0, 270, negative 1, and 360, 0. All right, next we're going to graph the cosine graph.